Thank you for stopping by Ballistic Barbecue. On this video, I will be making umami barbecued pork spare ribs. Let's get going. All right, so again, umami, it's basically that fifth taste, means savory, and almost all the ingredients we're using today are very high in glutamate, which is that G and MSG. They're flavor enhancers. So we're basically going to overload this recipe with all these ingredients that are high in glutamate and just really intensify that savoriness of the pork. I'm really looking forward to this. I was messing around with it a couple weeks ago and I was very pleased with the results. So let's start off with that umami barbecue sauce. So here are the ingredients we're using. We have one 14-ounce can of fire roasted crushed tomatoes, 1/4 cup honey, 1/4 cup raw sugar, 1/4 cup fermented bean chili, 1/2 cup ketchup, 2 tablespoons sun-dried tomato paste, 1 tablespoon truffle salt, 1/2 cup plum juice, 1/4 cup cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons soy sauce, 1 tablespoon Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon oyster sauce, 2 tablespoons dehydrated garlic, 1/4 cup rice vinegar, 1 tablespoon fish sauce. And last but not least, I have 1/2 of a large onion. It's a sweet onion that I've chopped up and caramelized. Let's get all this in the blender. All right, I'm going to get this into a pot, get it on the stove top to boil. I want to reduce this down to more of a glazy kind of consistency. While that's happening, we are going to make up a really nice umami rub. Now this rub is going to have a lot of you guys scratching your heads, but you gotta trust me on this one. We're going to start off with 1 cup of mushroom seasoning. This is an Asian, it's like dried mushrooms with all sorts of really good seasonings, super high in glutamate. We have here 1/2 cup of raw sugar, about 2 tablespoons or so of bonito flakes. These things actually, it sounds gross, but it's really good. It's just a nice smoky flavor. I have here 1 tablespoon garlic powder, 1 teaspoon allspice, about 2 tablespoons of a Japanese kind of a pepper seasoning called togarashi. Stuff's amazing. 2 teaspoons ground star anise. This is going to sound weird, but 1 teaspoon of anchovy dashi. It's like an anchovy soup. It's got some seasoning flavors in here, but again, really boosts, intensifies flavors. 1/4 cup of a nori seasoning, and it's got all sorts of cool stuff. It's got, sesame seeds, toasted sesame seeds, and ground dried seaweed. Again, actually seaweed is the key ingredient. This is where MSG comes from, is seaweed. And this stuff is called, and I'm going to butcher the name, it's a Japanese brand and it's a Japanese seasoning. It's called Aji Nori Furikake. I apologize for that, but I'll have a link for this down below. I have here 1/4 cup of dried California chili pepper. This is 1/4 cup of dried tomato powder, and again, I'll have a link for that. And 1 tablespoon of truffle salt. I'm going to go ahead and get this in the food processor and get it all ground up. All right, this funky rib rub is done. I'm going to go ahead and pull those ribs out and we'll get them all seasoned up. So we're going to be cooking up pork spare ribs, and these are trimmed St. Louis style. I have the membranes removed. First thing I am going to do is apply a little just cooking oil. And this is just to help the rub adhere a little bit better. Nice liberal amount of this rub here. All right, I'm going to give time for these ribs to sweat through this rub. I've already got the Primo going outside. I'll meet you out in the patio. The Primo is preheated to 250 degrees. We're burning a little bit of cherry wood. Things in here bone side down. All right, so we're going to leave these unfoiled for about 3 hours. Now, after that first hour, We're going to rock it a little bit Johnny Trigg style. I'm going to hit it with some margarine, and then the next hour I'm going to spray it with a little bit of plum juice before we foil it. So see you in a bit. All right, we are 1 hour into this cook, and I'm going to lay just a little bead of parquet down each rack of ribs. There we go. Pit's been holding a really nice stable heat, getting a nice, that thin blue smoke we look for. I will be checking on these again in another hour, and I'm going to go ahead and spritz them with some of that plum juice. See you in a bit. All right, we've been at this for 2 hours now, and we are going to mist these ribs with some of that plum juice. Ah, looking good. All right, we're going to go 1 more hour, and then we'll go ahead and get these things ready to wrap. Sun stopped cooperating with me, so I had to switch the cooker onto a more familiar view. Anyway, so total cook time now has been 3 hours, and we are ready to wrap these ribs. So I have foil laid out. I'm just going to lay down a bead of just regular old clover honey. Lay these down, meat down. Lay another bead of clover honey on top. Just going to take just a little bit of that plum juice we had. We want this nice and tight, but we don't want the bones to come poking through the foil. And I'm placing this back on the cooker, meat down, and I'm going to repeat with the other rack. All right, so it's been a little over an hour since I wrapped these things, and they're ready to pull. So as you can see, that probe just goes right in with very little resistance. So give me a few minutes to get these things unwrapped, then we'll get them sauced up and we'll finish these guys off. All right, I'll tell you where I'm at. I got the ribs on, I was filming everything, forgot to turn my audio on, so I'm going to baste the top of the ribs so you can see what they're looking like. So the underside of the ribs, the bone down side, has got sauce on it. Just a thin layer is all it needs. All right, so we're just going to leave this on the grill long enough to tighten up that sauce and everything. Then I'll pull them off, and I will meet you guys in the kitchen. We're going to try these things out. All right, the ribs have rested. We are ready to try these things out, and I cannot wait. Very tender. There we go, look at that. Nice smoke ring, very juicy. Here we go. Again, definitely more on the savory side, but they're sweet and a little bit of heat coming in the back. This is really good. Definitely not traditional Southern barbecue, and I'm sure that will be pointed out in the comments below. But I'm telling you, a lot of these ingredients have a place in Southern barbecue. But there's some stuff that could be maybe a secret, I don't know. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. And again, keep those suggestions coming in. I appreciate it. See you in the next video. Cheers.